Welcome, everybody, to today's show. We're going to have a good time. Already, I can tell you that because I've got Dr. Bruce Lipton here. For those of you that don't know, you've been under a rock. He wrote The Biology of Belief. And I've had this book for over 10 years, I believe. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But for those of you that are watching here on the video, know that there is the intro for Dr. Bruce Lipton and the other two books that he's written, as well as the rest of his bio on the podcast. So if you're watching this and you want to take it with you, if you click below the link here on my YouTube channel, you can take the podcast with you and just listen in the car or while you're exercising. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast, if you want to come over and see us, you can go to jjflazanes.tv. So Dr. Bruce Lipton, I am honored to have you. Thank you for finally being someone I could catch because I've been chasing you for a while. You're a very popular, very, very busy man. And I want to start off with a very bold statement that I've been making to certain friends, and then we're going to welcome you into the show and you can tell the audience, and we're going to work from this principle. With what's going on right now, which I've avoided talking about a lot in the beginning, hoping that it would pass, wanting to manufacture myself a placebo that I could give everybody, not necessarily to make money, but to make it go away quickly. I've been following my intuition about what to say, what not to say in this situation, and what it boiled down to, and what statement I have made, which some people, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, so some people don't believe me, but what I've said, and now you're a physician, you're a doctor, you're a researcher, cell biologist, and so you're going to give it to me straight. I'm telling people that during what's going on right now, it doesn't matter what the numbers say. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. The only two sciences, because everyone wants to say, oh, science says that wearing a mask protects you. Science says that this and that, and whatever they want to listen to that day. The only two sciences worth listening to are epigenetics and quantum physics, which nobody's talking about, yes?
Oh, it's so complicated. No, it's not. JJ, thank you for letting me be here with you. And I was figuring I should shut off the camera because your beauty shines through, and then they look at me and they want to go home. So I'll stay on. I hope they do too. All right.
Please stay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, so am I off base or am I correct? Are the only two sciences that people aren't talking about, quantum physics and epigenetics, the only real deal here in whether or not somebody gets sick or whether or not someone's affected by what's going on right now?
Absolutely. But we should add in there the concept of stress, because so many people think, oh, diseases are connected to genes. And, you know, every time they study a disease, oh, we're looking for the genes of that disease. Fact. Less than 1% of disease is even connected to genes. Over 90% of illness on this planet, including cancer, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, is all stress related. So since that's a primary directive in our health, we should consider the role of stress, which is being propagated through all the media, to be afraid and to be scared. And I go, that is the first big problem. I'll say very briefly right here, and that is this. Stress shuts off the immune system. And it's a reason. It's not just to punish you, but the stress is related to that proverbial saber-toothed tiger that chases us. And the relevance is very simple. If you're being chased by a tiger, how much energy do you want to make available out of your system to run away from that tiger? I hope you understand. I want all the energy I can have to escape the tiger. And I go, yeah, well, the body's intelligence is this. If you are being chased by that fear, then it will shut down all functions not associated with escaping the tiger. And included in that is the immune system. And the reason is this. Just consider how tired and weak people are when they get sick. And I say, what's the relevance? I say, because the immune system is using tremendous quantities of energy all of the time, but it protects you from the inside. So it's very simple understanding. You have a bacterial infection, bad case of diarrhea looming, and you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. I said, well, how would you like to split the energy? How much you want to fight the bacteria and how much you want to put into running away from the tiger? And the answer, of course, is very simple. If the tiger catches you, the bacteria is no longer a problem for you. And so what the relevance is that the system is designed to shut down the immune system and stress, because stress is an outside fear, not an inside problem. And so it's so effective at shutting off the immune system that when doctors want to transplant an organ from person A into person B, they give the recipient of that organ stress hormones before the operation, because that inhibits their immune system from rejecting the foreign tissue or organ. And I go, wow, it's so effective at shutting off the immune system. It's used therapeutically. And I go, yeah, all you have to do is just watch the news, go on the web, look out your window, and the stress levels are going to build up. And the, you know, the whole big deal is there something really scary out there? And I go, well, not really. Right in the face of, oh my God, Lipton's crazy, man. And I go, not really. And I go, because the numbers are false that you've heard, that they predicated all the, how many million people are going to die. And it's like, nah, that was based on wrong numbers. And the fact is, yes, it's virulent. Simple reason. It hasn't been in our world as part of human biology. So we have no previous experience immunologically of this kind of virus. So the relevance is everybody is susceptible to this virus because it hasn't been in our system. And I go, well, does that mean we're all going to die? And I go, right now, the statistic, very important, because they got you with the numbers, and I want to fix the numbers for a second. I say, how do you calculate mortality where they're coming up with millions of people are going to die? So where do they come up with that number? And the answer is this. You take the number of people who died from the COVID and divide it by the number of people who have the COVID. I go, so what's the relevance? I say, in the beginning, so few people reported that they had COVID that there was a very small number underneath the number of people that died. Mathematically, that means that the percent of people that die is really high. I go, yeah, but now that they're testing, they find up what upwards of maybe 9 out of 10 people have been infected by this virus, but it wasn't so dramatic that they needed to go see a doctor or go to a hospital where those reports are collected. So I go, well, then up to 90% of the people have received this. I said, if you put all those people in the bottom number of, you know, that fraction, you divide the number of dead people by the total number who have it, it drops down to within the exact same range of an annual seasonal flu. But it's made worse because on top of the problem with the virus, add the social consequences of people not working, especially a very large portion of people in the United States that live week to week on a paycheck. And I say, why is it relevant? Well, if you stop a week and you stop paying them, they're in the deepest stress that you can imagine. They got no money, no job. And what are they, you know, rent, food, all those things? What will that do? Ultimate stress. I say, what's the consequence? You just made them really susceptible to this virus in a very negative way. And so, truthfully, the statistics today are so completely different than the statistics they started with, but they use the statistics they started with to predicate, oh, millions of people are going to die. I go, listen, 2 years ago, television broadcast, Bruce on television, flu season is coming. You should go get your flu shot. Thank you. Today, flu season is coming and millions of people are going to die. Uh-oh, that's a whole different response. But if they would have said it's a flu season and more people are going to get it, but most people, it's so mild that they don't see a doctor, they don't go to a hospital, and they're completely unreported. So the statistics are invalid. And yet the fear is continuously propagated with numbers that are not valid. And to me, this is important because I teach a course in immunology, and the fundamental nature of that immunology course is simply this. If you are stressed, you have opened yourself up to illness only because you have compromised your immune system. And this to me is the most important understanding, because if I make you afraid, I enhance your stress. And at the exact same time, as your stress goes up, your immune system goes down.
So part of the reason why I wanted to narrow it down to epigenetics and quantum physics is because stress is a perception, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? So if I decide to buy into the stress, a nocebo versus a placebo, right? If I decide that I'm susceptible because I'm giving my power away and listening to other people and getting caught up in the momentum and the negativity and the low frequency of fear, then I'm really responsible for opening myself up to getting it. Versus if I take, again, epigenetics says that we respond to our environment. Our perception influences our anatomy and our biology and the way that we respond. Same thing with quantum physics in terms of frequency. If I say, my partner Doug and I, for my birthday, we went to Italy right when COVID happened. And somebody said from Milan, they had written to us and said, we recommend you don't come. And we looked at each other and said, yeah, we're still going. And so we went, and it was like, and I said this before on the show, it was like walking on water. Like we had an amazing, wonderful time because I didn't click into the fear. Now I did, because I was eating differently than I normally do. I did things to balance that. Like I took colloidal silver. I was taking more algae. Yes. I was taking vitamin C. I was taking probiotics. I was taking my enzymes. I was doing all the things to balance out the conditions that were new for my body. But I was also, in a way, and in law of attraction, people think it's irresponsible, but really it's quantum physics. I was ignoring all the other stimulus and living in my own damn world because I knew that as long as I stayed in a place where I was happy and feeling good, that my immunity would serve me.
That's exactly what it's been doing for 1 million years until we believe that it doesn't work. And it's like, if it doesn't work, that would scare me too. And yet the reality is, as you've done, the main thing is this: if I enhance my immune system's function, meaning I keep it up to date, man, because as I said, stress is the biggest problem of health around the planet, and especially in Western industrialized cities where people are stressed to hell to live in that city compared to people who live in a country somewhere. Okay. And the relevance is this. So what would I do? Okay. Bruce's suggestion is exactly what you did, JJ. And that is what? Eat well, take care of your minerals and vitamins and supplements to enhance your immune system, because our daily life is compromising them all the time. Go outside and exercise because you want to keep the system running. And the relevance about that is also connected to what are your thoughts? And as you mentioned, people know placebo. Yeah, placebo is a very positive thought. Oh, this pill. I always loved it because there was this pill. I forgot what the name is, but I remember the ad. And it's purple. It's purple. Oh, yeah, that's the color of healing. And that's how, I mean, they sold the drug because of the color of it. And I go, so people believe. And I go, so what does it mean? I say, did the drug really work? Did the drug actually work? And the answer is, in most cases, no. It was the belief in the drug that worked. And that's called placebo. And everybody goes, yeah, you can get cured by a sugar pill if you believe the pill is effective. And everybody goes, yes, positive thinking. That helps. And I go, well, we talk about positive thinking, but as you brought up, there's something called nocebo, which is negative thinking. And no one really talks about the consequence of negative thinking. I go, most important point they have to know is negative thinking is equally powerful as positive thinking, but it works in the opposite direction. While positive thinking can heal you of any disease, negative thinking can cause any disease without any other reason than negative thinking. And you can die from the belief of dying. And so I say, so how much positive thinking are we doing in this world? How much negative thinking? I go, it's not really balanced very well. Most of it is negative. All you have to do, as I said, is watch the media and watch what's going on in the world. And it will scare anybody, except for the fact they don't talk about all the healthy people. There's not a news story. Oh, there's 5,000 people that are healthy in this town. That's not a good story. Oh, 50 people died in this. That's the story. And I go, That is what keeps you glued to that television set. You know, I joke, I say, there's an accident on a highway. All of the cars going by the accident slow down so everybody could gawk at, oh, look at the wreck, and oh. And I go, and I say, and just down the street, there's a family having a wonderful picnic and enjoying the afternoon, and the cars are going right by. It's like, you didn't pay attention to the people having a good thing, but we are, you know, sort of glued to the scary things. And so as the television now is giving a story of scary, people are sitting in front of that TV, gawking at it as if it was a car accident and taking it in. And their storyline is, you are gonna get it. And I go, whoa. I said, well, that's a belief system. And if you believe all that stuff, you can have a flu without even a virus. And this becomes important because people are locked into that fear because it sells more than joy. Who cares about the picnic? It's that accident that scared the hell out of me. And it's like, well, then look, there's a responsibility here. What do you want to focus on? Because if you're creating your life, and that's the principle of quantum physics, a little sidebar, quantum physics is the most tested and validated of every science on this planet. If you're going to question a science, the last science to question is quantum physics. I go, so what's relevant? I go, principle number one, consciousness is creating your life experience. That was from 1925, 1927. That's when it was established. We're 100 years away and people are just waking up. Geez, you think about if I'm thinking of something that could influence, I go, it's only been 100 years of the most valid science, except it doesn't go to the public. I go, why not? And the answer is, I'll tell you the simple truth. If people make money off of you not being healthy, they're sure as heck not going to let you be healthy, because where's the money going to come from? And the pharmaceutical people, look, I'm a biologist. I teach immunology. I did research on stem cells, 50 years. I'm in there, you know, and I'm going to tell you, sorry, my opinion, Bruce Lipton, opinion, the pharmaceutical company's not your friend. Oh, they're going to make drugs to save me. They're going to make drugs to do anything. And the idea was what? There were only a few issues that they were good at in the beginning, to work on a few big issues. But then they said, well, we can make more money if we could find more issues. And they started generating diseases, you know, all kinds of. And I say, so what do you mean generated disease? I say, carpal tunnel syndrome. That was one. I go, why? Well, everybody worked and nobody had any idea of it until somebody came up and said, oh, that's how I got this carpal thing. And everybody saw it on the news, and then they go to work and they go, oh, look, I got carpal thing too. And I go, you propagated a belief and people bought it? Why? Because now they're going to sell you the damn drug. I go, they make up things to make drugs available to you, you know, like especially in women's issues, you know, all kinds of issues about menstrual issues. And all of a sudden that is a pathology. Pre-menstrual stress, post-menstrual stress, whatever. Take a pill. That'll fix you. I go, it wasn't a problem until you told people it was a problem. And then you offered them the pill. And of course, oh, I'll buy that. Except for the reality is the pharmaceutical company your friend? And I'll go and give you another one. Is the banker your friend? Yes, the banker's your friend if you have a lot of money. If you don't have a lot of money, the banker's not so friendly anymore, you know? And the drug companies ply you with so many drugs. Every intermission break on television, here's a new drug. I don't even know what the hell I'm going to be happy. What the hell is that drug? I'm going to tell my doctor. That's the drug I want. So basically, there's a thing going on here that I'm concerned about as a biologist, and that is the propagation of a fear by higher ups in the health industry. Oh, I won't say his name, but CDC people and stuff like that. And I go, what's the relevance of all that? And the answer is, do you know that those people are the ones that have invested in the vaccine companies? Even Bill Gates owns a vaccine company. I go, why is it relevant? Money is money. If you buy the damn vaccine, I make money. If you don't get the vaccine, then what am I going to do? So the idea is all over. We're going to give you a vaccine. Just wait. And I go, if you've already been exposed to COVID-19, you already created your own vaccine. The idea that I need to get a vaccine on top of the fact that if I had COVID and I healed myself, I don't need the damn vaccine. And yet I'm afraid. I'm afraid for the public because I'm totally aware of the relevance of messing with the immune system and an idea that they have completely misunderstood the nature of the immune system. And I want to give a very important fact about it because people have misunderstood something very profound. Thank you for a little platform here, JJ, so I could say this.
Of course, please keep going.
Everyone, tonsils. You've heard of tonsils. JJ, what do you think the public idea? What is a tonsil?
If I've heard of infected tonsils, would it help to regulate some of maybe what happens in the back of the throat?
Okay, storyline, very close because that's it, is that the suggestion is that the openings of the face, mouth, nose, which is also connected to the throat, ears, which eustachian tubes are connected to the throat, eyes, which have tear ducts connected to the throat, all these are openings. And they say, oh, well, and you go through the world, all the germs are going through these openings, and before they go down the throat, we have tonsils, and the tonsils are going to protect you from those germs. And I go, nah, that's not true at all. As a matter of fact, in the area of the throat where those tonsils are, that is the thickest lining of the entire digestive tract. It's as thick as skin. I go, why is it relevant? I said, if you're an infection, that's the last place that infection occurred. Down in the gut, the layers in the gut is just a single cell layer. Now that is a dangerous place, okay? Because that's where infections can come in. So I say, the tonsils are protecting you from this infection? Nope. The tonsils are learning centers that when your environment comes into your body, the function of the tonsils is to sample what just went down your throat. And that's why tonsils have ducts, channels open to the throat. Meaning what? Well, if I wanted to wall off the damn thing, why would I open a channel to let it back in? And the answer is it's sampling. And I go, think about it this way. Infants stick everything in their world into their mouth. Every infant, anything you put in that crib is going to ultimately go into that mouth. And I go, that's a reflex. That's a learning response. What's it doing? Sampling the environment. And I go, so why is it relevant? I said, that is nature's natural vaccination mechanism. That's how we teach the immune system. What goes down the throat passes by the tonsils, which read what's going down the throat, educate the immune system to what was there, so that later these cells then can be protective. So why is it relevant? I say, if you stick a needle under the skin, I put it right there. I go, there's no sentry of the immune system. If you look at cells as miniature people and you got 50 trillion of them and you're hanging around in the arm, this is where I live over here as a cell. And then one day, all of a sudden, boom, all this toxic stuff came in there. Where did it come from? I don't know. I didn't see it. Why? Because the needle bypassed everything. It just got stuck in the middle. And all of a sudden the cells are going, because they're intelligent. Where did that come from? Ha! You fooled it. And that's why these things bypass the intelligence that took 1,000,000 years to make. And the reality is this: I'm not against vaccines, but I'm only pro oral vaccine to use the intelligence of the existing system and not try to be smarter than the cells, the human hubris. We're the smartest things in the world. I go, really? Those cells made you. You're made out of 50 trillion cells. They do functions that humans can't even technologically develop yet. They do things that are beyond our capability. And then we talk about, oh, they're just so stupid cells. I go, stupid, they created us. And they've got this intelligence. And then you think you're smarter than that intelligence? That's where humans get in trouble. Because when we think we're the smartest, we're going to say, oh, well, Mother Nature didn't know how to take care of it. We're going to make our own vaccine. Wow, that hubris is going to kill us. I go, it is killing us because we have no trust of this system, which is more intelligent than we are. And so, boy, did I get on that soapbox. Sorry, JJ, I got carried away with that because to me, this is like, oh my God, people don't even know what they think the tonsils are like protection to wall, prevent the germs going into your body. No, their job is to read what came in and understand it. Learning and memory is the function of that immune system. And the tonsils are learning centers. So am I anti-vax? Nope. But I'm only oral vax, because if you understand the system, then work with it and don't try to override its intelligence, which we've done at the cost of our health.
So I want to explain for those who are new to the term epigenetics. I've had Dawson Church on. I've talked about epigenetics before, but I believe you're kind of the founder. Am I correct in this? That you've kind of uncovered epigenetics?
I'm older in the beginning. Not a founder, okay. I would say pioneer. It was only 50 years ago that I was working with a system that just a few years ago became understood. So I had about 30 years before conventional science of understanding something that is the forefront of today's science. So I had a lot of history with it. Matter of fact, I taught Dawson Church what he knows.
I'm glad to know that. We won't tell him that you said that. Can you explain on a very simplistic terms to people who are listening who don't understand what epigenetics is?
Yes. Conventional story, which almost everybody's been programmed, is genes control the character of your life, not just your physical, but your behavioral, your emotional character. So there are genes for this and a gene for that, with the belief that genes are programs that turn themselves on and off. And I go, what's relevant? And I said, they turn themselves on and off. And I said, why is that important? Well, if they control your biology, if they're controlling your biology and they're turning themselves on and off, you have no control. You become a victim of your heredity. Oh my God, there's a cancer gene running in my family and I'm going to get cancer. I go, a little sidebar. There is no gene that causes cancer. Not one gene causes cancer. Cancer is a result of many genes working together. It takes anywhere from, over 10, usually 15 or more genes simultaneously in harmony, working together to manifest a cancer. I go, so what does that mean? I go, the single gene doesn't control anything. So bottom line, what do people think from their education? Their life is controlled by genes. A, as far as they know, they didn't pick them. B, if they don't like the characteristics, well, they can't change them. And C is the genes turn on and off by themselves without you being involved. So I'm a victim. And that's where people's health issues come down to a belief. I'm a victim of things attacking me. I'm just receiving these insults and I have no power. So that's a belief. And that's why everybody's afraid about their genes. So now I go, so what's relevant? I go, the new science reveals a very interesting fact. Genes are blueprints. Yeah, we already knew that. Genes make the proteins, which are the structure of your body and control your behavior. So they say the genes are responsible for the proteins. And I go, oh, and they turn on and off. And I go, it's a blueprint. I go, what do you mean? I say, go into an architect's office and she's working on a blueprint. You ask her, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at you and go, what are you talking about? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. Exactly. Genes are not what we refer to as self-actualizing, which means that they make decisions. Genes are blueprints and have no more power in decision-making than an architect's blueprint on a desk. And I go, so why is it relevant? I say, well, the architect's blueprint's on the desk, but who reads the blueprint? Somebody's reading the blueprint. I go, it's not the blueprint. It's the individual that is assessing those blueprints that determines what they're going to do with them. So the old story is called genetics, and we talk about this character is under genetic control. Genetic control translates as control by genes. All these characters are under the control of genes. That's the belief story, okay? But I say, but the new science is totally different. And I go, what does it mean? I go, it's called epigenetics. And so I say, so this character is under epigenetic control. I said, it sounds the same. I go, revolution. Why? Epi means above. Matter of fact, what do they call skin? Epidermis. I say, what does it mean? Epi means above. So I said, then epidermis means above the dermis. Yes, underneath the skin is a layer called dermis. The one above the dermis is epidermis. And I go, and what is epigenetic control? Control above the genes. Control above the genes? I go, yeah. Consciousness and life experiences, environment. And these are the characters that control the genes. And I go, so why is it relevant? I said, you control your environment, you control your consciousness, and therefore you control your genes. I said, well, what am I going to do with that control? I said, what do you think that, what do you want from your life? You make a vision, and then the function of the system is the brain takes that vision and translates it into complementary chemistry. So that if you have a negative vision, the brain releases the equivalent of negative chemistry. So that'll affect your body so it matches your vision. If I have a fear of a disease, then my mind will generate the disease because the chemistry that will come from the picture will then generate because it's complementary chemistry. So all of a sudden I say, oh my God, you are creating your life based on the picture you hold in your mind, because the job then is the brain is to translate it into chemistry, goes into the blood. The blood is the culture medium for 50 trillion cells under your skin. So we're like skin covered petri dishes, and the culture medium blood, the chemistry of that is controlled by your belief system. You change your belief system, you change the chemistry. And this is why the chemistry of healing and placebo wasn't related to the pill. Who cares about the pill? It was a sugar pill. It was the belief system that translated the idea of health into health. But it works just the same in the opposite direction. I have a fear of COVID, cancer, whatever. Then the function of the brain is to translate that picture into complementary chemistry, which then sends it to the body to make a complement to the picture. Are you thinking healthy, good thoughts, or are you afraid? Why? Well, if you're thinking healthy, good thoughts, then your body is like, okay, let's go to life here. If you're afraid, guess what? You close down. I go, what's the relevance? Here's the point. An organism, be it a cell or a human, responds to environmental information. If a signal is very positive, then a cell or a human moves to that signal, be it love, food, fun. If it's something very positive, you change your biology and move to that signal, open your arms and take it in. Like love. You want to be in love. It's not just watching the other person, it comes into you. So you have to open up yourself for love. Okay. I go, so in a very positive stimulus, the cells or the body moves to the stimulus, arms open. Now, what if the stimulus is negative? Oh, I say, number one, you don't go to the stimulus, you go away from the stimulus. And I said, do you keep your arms open? I go, absolutely not. You close yourself down because that's protection. So I say, oh, growth, move to a stimulus, arms open. Protection, move away from the stimulus, close yourself down. So I say, so growth and protection, you can't do them at the same time. I go, why not? You can't go to a stimulus and away from a stimulus at the same time. You can't be open and close at the same time. So here's the point. If fear overrides the system, it shuts down the growth and maintenance of the body and stresses the system. And, hey, I'm old enough to remember bomb shelters. What the hell is a bomb shelter? We were so afraid of the Russians going to bomb us. We built underground places. We put food and stuff in there because we're waiting for that big air raid siren to go off, and we're going to run in that basement, and we're going to hide there until the alert is over. I go, okay, so let's go back to that day. Town is working. It's in growth. Everybody, the school's going, the business going, everything is growth. A siren goes off. Everybody leaves the job. Where do they go? They go into the bomb shelter. What are they doing? Protecting themselves. I go, good. If there's a threat, that's not a bad problem. But what if there's no threat and you're still down there? I say, well, what's the relevance? I say, your biology, whether the threat is real or not, is responding to a threat. And I go, what is it going to do? It's going to close itself down. It's going to shut down the immune system. It's going to shut down the maintenance of the body as I'm hiding in that bomb shelter. So I go, now here's where the problem comes from. Conventional days back then, air raid siren went off, air raid drill, go into the bomb shelter. Everybody waits. 5-10 minutes later, all clear. Everybody comes out of the bomb shelter. Growth goes back in again. Okay. But what happens if you go into the bomb shelter and there's no all clear? Well, there's a point where I can maintain myself in here for a while, but guess what? I only have so much food and water. And I go, what's the relevance? I say, if I have to stay in there longer than I have supplies for, I'm going to die in the bomb shelter in fear. So I go, oh, I said, what's the issue about it? And the idea was, evolutionarily, the system was designed to run away from a saber-toothed tiger. I go, so what's relevant? If you escape that tiger, let's say you had to run 10 minutes, but if you escape the tiger, then all of a sudden the fear is gone and you're back to life again. The point was, fear was only used for short, intermittent bursts of energy to escape. And I say, well, what about chronic fear? I go, oh, well, now you got a problem, because chronic fear is being in the bomb shelter with no all clear. Chronic fear keeps you in that stress mode 24/7, 365, today's world. We were never designed to be in protection for prolonged periods. And yet we are programming people to be scared to death. And look at this. Hey, COVID, go home, lock yourself in a room, don't see anybody, don't talk to, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have any money. Lock yourself in a room anyway. And all of a sudden you start to realize, oh my God, you're going to die. From what? Fear. Why? Because you've shut yourself down and you're waiting for that thing. And the idea is you could die waiting for it. Never even got it. And this is what people have to know. Fear overrides the system. Fear is a protection, and protection means shutting the system down, conserving energy by not growing and maintaining the body, and for sure, shutting off the immune system, because the immune system is the protection mechanism for interior, and yet we're afraid of that tiger in the exterior. And so the immune system gets shut down. We get sick, not because we're destined to get sick. We get sick because we're not living in harmony, health, and happiness. And if I can control that, I control you. And the media and the pharmaceutical industry, and again, it's the benefit of the pharmaceutical industry. Why? Well, everybody's going to get vaccinated. I go, who's paying for that? Where's the money going to go? And all of a sudden, oh, it's going to go to Bill Gates and Fauci because they own the vaccine companies. I go, oh, that's self-aggrandizement. I can make more money by scaring you. I go, yep.
So one of the things that, again, and I appreciate everything that's coming out of your mouth, unprompted by me, everybody, unprompted by me. I'm only asking for sort of validation in areas of science that I've been talking about, right? Because quantum physics, as we were talking about it, is literally law of attraction. It's the science of what people think is a belief system or a spiritual belief, when the physics related to that science is frequency. And frequency has to do with emotion. And we're talking about perception. And we're talking about the difference between feeling good and not feeling good, stress and fear, love right. and health, right? And one of the things that I love that you talked about in biology of belief, well, many things, for instance, that all of us are infected. So if we just decide, it's an easy fear to get over, and people are literally dying out of fear. I believe that they're more susceptible to everything just because of their fear. And early on, yeah.
I just want to add this because the numbers, okay, look how many people are dying. I go, well, wait a minute. A large number of people would have died whether the virus was here or not. They had cancer, they had cardiovascular disease, they were already compromised. And yet the government put out a directive that said if that patient had any connection to COVID and they die, then the primary cause of death is COVID. I know they were riddled with cancer and they were going to die anyway, but they got a COVID at the last moment because the ambulance driver got the COVID and the patient was in the thing. And when they died, according to the death certificate, it said died of COVID. They were dying of cancer. They were dying of cardiovascular disease. Very interesting. The jokey part is, wow, COVID got here, and guess what? People aren't dying from cancer and cardiovascular disease anymore. COVID is healing cancer. I go, no, it's just being covered up and then placed as a statistic to emphasize that the COVID, and I go, COVID did not kill them. Cancer killed them. Cardiovascular disease killed them. Fear killed them. COVID was ancillary. And that's why 9 out of 10 people, apparently, and now that we're doing the testing, have had the COVID, but the symptoms weren't any great enough to cause concern where they would have to go seek help. And I say, so what's the relevance? I said, COVID is not so different than the annual flu. What's so different is the fear of COVID that is broadcast day after day, make you go hide in your bomb shelter. I go, Jesus, you hide in your bomb shelter, you're already going toward death. And I said that, what about those poor people that, you know, barely get by? Now they're supposed to hide they got nothing in their bomb shelter. What's that going to do? Exacerbate it. And that's why when we look at it, there's a racial tendency associated with this. And I go, what is it, racial? I go, no, it's poverty that's associated with that. It's a lower quality of life that affects these people. That's why they're more susceptible than the richer people, which have a comfort. Okay, I'll lock myself. Oh, look, I got some beautiful videos. I got a lot of food. And I go, what about the poor people? They got nothing in the refrigerator and they're locking themselves in the room.
Yeah. I've wanted to empower people throughout this as best as possible. You know, it's hard you can't really change mass consciousness.
Well, you can, but we'd have to do what we're doing right now. What we have to do is knowledge is power. That's a fact. Now get ready for this one. Equal statement. A lack of knowledge is a lack of power. And if people don't have knowledge of what's going on and I give them false knowledge, then that's like no knowledge at all. And so therefore, we are being disempowered by not getting the true knowledge, but getting some conventional, this is our story. And I go, that story is BS, which means belief system. And the relevance about that is very simply this, is that it is not as lethal as they have been programming people, and that the number of people dying, the big milestone, 500,000 people around the world died from the COVID. Like, I go, in a conventional flu, one of the previous years, conventional flu, 650,000 people died, and it was called normal. 500,000, it's like the end of the world. I go, what are you doing here? I say, you're selling. And I'm very upset by it because I'm supposed to be one of the most susceptible people because I'm so old. And it's like, hell, I'm going to not buy into that crap. I never buy into the crap every year when the flu season comes anyway. I never get those stupid shots. Why? I trust my intelligence of my immune system, and I trust that I'm supporting it with what? Good food, supplements, exercise, and good thinking.
One of the reasons, this is a funny story, one of the reasons that I bought Biology of Belief years ago, you know, there was a knowing. I don't need to understand how gravity works to believe in gravity. I don't need to know how the Earth spins on its axis in the sky somewhere in the universe to know that it exists. When I heard the title of your book, Biology of Belief, I didn't need to read it. Not because I could explain it. No disrespect. I don't mean that from an arrogance, ego perspective. I just said the biology of belief. Yes, I believe whatever you're saying is absolutely correct. It resonates on every level. Thank you. So I would refer to your book all the time, and I hadn't read it because I'm like, yeah, biology of belief, because I thought that's all you need to know, that there is our beliefs create our biology. End of story. I don't need to know the science to know that that's true. It feels absolutely correct. And so I have a friend who's very scientific and he's not very spiritual, although he really is, he just doesn't know it. And at some point we got into some kind of argument because he's a math guy, and you know, it's all numbers. And again, perception wasn't a part of that conversation. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna read Biology of Belief so I can prove to you that this is true. And then, as of course, like, not good intention there, I'm like, no, this is about a fight. This is not good. I didn't do it. He's not asking. This is about me trying to prove something that exists that he's not asking for. So the book sat on the shelf. Forever. And even though I still wanted to have this conversation with you, and I was reaching out and saying, okay, when can you come? Always booked. When can you come? Always booked. COVID hits. Hey, is he free yet? Hey, he has an opening. You can take it. I was like, okay, I just manifested this. Time to read the book. So, so if for those of you that also feel like me, you get it. And a lot of my listeners do. They intuitively have a feeling that they know that this is true. They don't need to be proven that it's true. But here's what I'm going to tell everybody. I listened to the audiobook and I love all the things that I learned. Did I understand the principle of it? Yes. Did you convince me of anything new? No. But what it strengthened are things like, and things that I can help other people understand about the fact that, you know, starting with all of us are infected. So if we just start out thinking that we're all infected with something, and how you choose to perceive life and your circumstances and the emotional energies that you focus on and the ones that you continue to talk about, you literally control that expression. That's what epigenetics is, right? The expression of genes or expression of an environment based on your perception and therefore your emotions that change your biology, right? That change your chemistry. Yes?
Right. Absolutely. You know, as I said before, genes are blueprints to make proteins, and the proteins are the building blocks. Something new that's so important about it is epigenetics not just reads the blueprints, but like an architect can edit the expression of those blueprints. So it's not just a straight readout of my genes. It's my interpretation and my experience and my perceptions that are going to determine what kind of product will come from that gene. So I say it's a blueprint, it makes a protein. Now, guess what? Based on epigenetics, one blueprint, just one gene, I can make over 3,000 different versions of proteins from the same blueprint. I go, why is it relevant? Because some of those versions might be healthy versions and some of them might be toxic versions. So I say, what? I say, well, the idea is, oh, I got cancer because I had cancer genes. I said, no, you had nothing. There are no cancer genes. You're living in an environment who is not, or you're not in harmony. And that's the expression. So 90% of cancer doesn't even have any genetic linkage. There's no family history. It just showed up. I go, what do you mean it just showed up? You got a cancer gene? I say, no, you have a regular gene, but through epigenetic reorganizing, one of the 3,000 different versions of that gene could be a detrimental version. And then you end up getting cancer from what? No cancer gene, normal gene. So it works the other way too. You can come with a disease, or can come with a defective gene, and the relevance about that is very simply this: is that with epigenetics, you can make a version of a defective gene that's actually normal. So in other words, I'm not controlled by the gene; I'm controlled by my manifestation of the gene, how I make it work. So I can make it work in a positive way and be very healthy. And I could also come with a negative view and take the same healthy gene and turn it into a cancer gene. Okay. It's not a cancer gene, but I can turn it into cancer by my perception. And this is really critical for people because they think, oh, especially cancer, because it's so damn rampant in our world. And I go, why is it relevant? I go, here's where the problem comes from. And this is it. People say it's a cancer gene. So Angelina Jolie, her mother died from the breast cancer, her grandmother died from the breast cancer. I think her father was a medical doctor too, if I'm not
He was
wrong.
an actor.
An actor? Somebody in the family. And so they bought the medical story. She's young, vibrant woman, and she's going to have a double mastectomy because she says, if I remove these breasts, then I won't suffer the consequences of my family's history. And so this young, healthy woman has the mastectomy. I'm going to use this word because some people don't want to hear it, right? It's a mutilation of your body. Okay, I just said that, but let's go on now. I go, so why is it relevant? because the idea is, well, if I remove the cancer gene, I've removed the cancer, because she had the BRCA1 gene. I go, guess what? 50% of the women that carry the BRCA1 gene never get cancer. I say, what's the relevance? Fact. Possession of that so-called BRCA1 gene is not the cause of cancer, because you can have it and never have cancer. So I say, oh, it's a supportive mechanism. It's correlated with the cancer, but it doesn't cause cancer. And I go, so why is it relevant? Because if a person gets cancer and they're locked into the belief system that the genes cause this, they had nothing to do with it. I'm a victim. I'm a victim of my heredity. That damn gene was carried down. I got it. Oh my God, I'm going to get breast cancer. I go, that's a victim mentality with what? A picture of what? What's the picture?
Cancer.
Cancer. And I go, so here's two people get the exact same diagnosis, terminal cancer. Both of them get the same diagnosis. You got 90 days, and that's about what you got. So go home and take care of your life. One of them buys into the belief, yeah, I got cancer. In 90 days, I'm going to die. So they go home and they follow all the rules and they die in 90 days. I said, what about the other one? The other one gets a diagnosis and goes, oh, crap. My life is out of harmony. Everything, you know, I'm not happy. I'm not peaceful. There's so much anger. And I can't, it's just, and they get the diagnosis and they realize, screw it. I'm going to let go. I don't care about all that anymore. I'm going to leave the job. I'm going on vacation. I only got 90 days. What the hell? I'm going to enjoy myself. Well, that person goes out 90 days later. Guess what? They're still enjoying themselves. A year later, they're still enjoying themselves. 2 years later, I go, what was the point? The first one claimed victim, which meant powerless. The vision overrides me, and therefore my death is certain. The other one says, get rid of the stress, not knowing that getting rid of the stress is what healed them. Because when they got rid of the stress, they started living a different way of life, and the cancer disappeared. So here's a conclusion. Cancer is a symptom, not the problem. I go, why? Well, if you treat it as a problem and you say, I removed the cancer cells, so now you're free. And I go, hell, the cancer cells didn't cause the problem. They were the consequence of a problem. And all of a sudden this goes, well, just because you remove the so-called cause, which wasn't, you think you are free. And I go, the cancer didn't come from the genes. It came from not being in harmony with your life. And so the idea about this is we have to transcend the old story of genetic control, because it's mind control, it's environment control. And those are the two things as humans that we can change. We can change your thoughts, you can change your environment, therefore you're not a victim. You become the master. And that's the difference between genetics, which says you're a victim, and epigenetics, which says, no, you're a master. And if we understood epigenetics, then we'd have to say, well, if my thinking is causing these problems, I don't have to fix the problem down here. I have to fix the problem up here. So all those drugs and radiation and chemotherapy and all that kind of stuff like that might be working at affecting the cancer cells. You can kill all the damn cancer cells, but if you didn't change what's up here, another cell would be modified by epigenetics to also create cancer. So you never resolved it because you kept thinking you're a victim, when epigenetics says, no, your consciousness is controlling every aspect. And people know that, but it's hard against the system because, simple point, if you're a victim, by definition, you mean you're powerless. That's what I am, victim. I'm powerless to control. And I go, and what would be the consequence of expressing powerless? And I say, I have to seek power. From where? Somebody else, because it's not going to come from here. Oh, the pharmaceutical company is going to give me power. I'm going to buy their drugs and they'll give me power. And I go, you already had the power, except your belief system says no, and therefore the end of the game. And this is the issue which I always enjoy, because skeptics about all this come up and say, look, I tried that experiment and it didn't work. I go, it's biology of belief, friend. If you believe it works, it works. And if you believe it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So fine, you just supported everything I just said. And the reality is, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And that's the point that's so critical is, let's stop being sheep and start recognizing that we are masters of our biology.
Thank you for saying that. If I said that, they'd get so mad at me, but because I'm not a doctor, I can't say that. But thank you, Dr. Bruce Lipton, for telling everyone, stop being sheep. You're not helping yourself, and you don't care about your health the way you think you do if you don't recognize the power that you have to control it. And I'm really bummed that you have another appointment after me and that I have to let you go, because this conversation, I would keep you here all day. Because we've just skimmed the surface. But I want to make sure people, if you haven't read, if you're like me and you have it, but you haven't read it, Biology of Belief. And I would recommend it on audio because it's a lot easier.
Let me cancel. Let me cancel. I recommend it on audio. Okay,
Why?
You ready? Audio is a brief overview of a book. It's not the book.
You didn't read it?
You didn't read it. You just had you heard the audio version, right?
But isn't it the same? Didn't you read from the book?
No, I wrote the audio version was before the book was written. There's a whole bigger story in the book.
Well, now I have to read the book.
Real science. It's physically in that book. The pictures, the references, the meaning of it. The audio book was cool because a lot of people don't have time. They can stick it in a car, drive someplace and hear the book. I'm not saying it's bad, for sure. But I'd say you really want to get the fullest story. It's in the text because the book came after the audio version.
I didn't know that. I sit corrected. Everybody do both. Get the audio for your car, get the book to read it. Actually, I'm going to say that after you hear it, it's going to make reading it easier, especially for 100%. Those right brainers. For the right 100%. Brainers who, when they get into all that science, it's overwhelming and their brains can't handle that technical stuff. They kind of, glaze over.
My book is not, my book was made for the lay audience. Actually, when I wrote the book, the first version of it, I used my science vocabulary and science is like the church. We put things into Latin. Nobody knows what the hell we're talking about. So my first version had the science churchy language in it. I gave it to a couple of friends. I said, would you review this for me? I never saw them again. I had to go find them. I said, what happened? What happened? And they embarrassedly said to me, Bruce, I didn't understand a damn word. What the hell you said? I had to go back and take another year and say, look, it has to be understood by people who don't have a science background. So the writing of the book is really pretty much available to most people, but it tells a much bigger story than I could put in a short audio situation. So, yeah, the audio book's good. That'll get you started. But if you really want to know it, it's in the written version.
Well, and I know you have 2 other books, and I'd love to talk about those too. What is it, brucelipton.com? What can we come and get? Can we buy the book there? Is there anything free we can do there?
Yeah, that's for sure. But you can get all free downloadable information, written stuff, interviews like this one, videos from other sources. It's a resource, and most of it's free. And you can buy the book. I'm not saying you have to at all.
I am. I'm saying they have to buy the book. So that's me.
No.
You have to buy the book.
Well, you can say that, but I can't say that.
I understand.
I just want people to understand is that this science is it's a revolution. It's not your parents' biology.
Yep.
It's a new empowering biology. And this is what the evolution that we're facing on this planet right now, why everything is falling apart, is because we lost who we really are. And according to quantum physics and spirituality, they're both saying the exact same thing, because quantum physics talks about the invisible energy fields that shape the physical world. I go, well, you could call those energy fields, or definition, you could call it spirit. Why? They both have the same definition, invisible forces that are shaping our physical expression. And this is the beautiful part about quantum physics, is that it brings ancient understanding of spirituality into the context of modern science and says modern science and spirituality say exactly the same thing. And so the spiritual people didn't have to know the details about the molecules in the DNA. They just understood the nature of spirituality. And I said, if you just understand the nature of quantum physics, you don't have to go into the equations and do all that stuff, because it's a simple understanding. Consciousness is creating your life experiences.
Can you come back? Can you come back at some point? Okay, good. Because this isn't enough for me. I'm sorry. It's not enough. 1 hour is not enough. Dr. Bruce Lipton, thank you so much. You're a delight. I love you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for helping people who were skeptical because of the science background understand that this spiritual stuff is actually real and makes a difference and empowers your life. Everyone go to brucelipton.com, buy the book. If you don't have it, get the audio. If you don't have that, do both. At least let's start with The Biology of Belief. I know you have 2 other books I'd love to discuss with you. Thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you today.
Listen, JJ, I would love to come back. And I also really want to thank our audience. And the reason why I want to thank them is these are seekers who are looking for answers that are not in the box. And the significance is the answers in the box are causing all the problems. If you want to get the answers in life, you can't follow the conventional story. That's what's causing the precipitous, evolutionary wall that we are hitting right now. This is why civilization we've undermined our own reality, because our beliefs are not in harmony with life. And I want to thank everybody out there, because every one of you is a participant in a co-creation of a new world. And those that transcend the old beliefs become empowered, because the old beliefs, by definition, are disempowering beliefs that say you're a victim of this, a victim of that, a victim. And of course, there's a good reason, because if you buy you're a victim, you will also buy a healer. You will buy whatever they say. Oh my God, I'm going to get sick and die. No, here's the pill. And then all of a sudden, game over, because you've now put everything into that pill, when the fact was it all started up here. And if I change up here, I don't need the damn pill. And that's what the whole idea is about.
I know, and I love it. And thank you for helping to spread that word. I appreciate you and I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, JJ. You're so beautiful, and I'm so happy to be next to you. And I think most people will probably say, well, what should we do about this video? And I go, shut off, Bruce, and just look at JJ.
Well, everyone, come on over. If you're on the podcast, come on over and see how much fun we're having here on the video. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you, and we will.